Welcome to Sparrow's Realm. Sophia Hartwell had always loved the quiet mornings in her study. The sun spilled across the polished oak desk, catching dust motes in golden beams, and the soft hum of the city outside felt distant, almost protective. It was her little sanctuary, a place where she could sip coffee, read, or simply exist without interruption. Her son Leo's laughter would drift up from the breakfast room, and the scent of Damien's morning shave would linger faintly in the air. Life had been gentle, predictable, and, by her own quiet reckoning, perfect. That morning, however, felt different. Sophia noticed it the moment she stepped inside the study, a thin envelope, slightly crumpled, tucked between the pages of an old ledger she had never used. She frowned. She didn't recognize the handwriting at first. Elegant, flowing, deliberate. Someone had taken their time. Her fingers hesitated over it, hovering like a butterfly unsure where to land. Curiosity won. She unfolded the letter carefully. The paper smelled faintly of lavender, old but preserved with care. Her eyes scanned the words, and the room seemed to shrink around her. I wish your partner was Sophia. If you would stay by Sophia's side, I would be so relieved. P.S. Did you notice that the child likes you too? Sophia froze. Her heartbeat hit her throat. The words were innocent enough at first glance, almost sweet. But the implication, it was like a small, invisible knife twisting inside her chest. Why is this here? She whispered to herself, clutching the letter. Her mind raced. The handwriting, she knew it, but she couldn't place it. And yet the name it carried, Elena Marlowe, made her stomach drop. 8 years of happiness. 8 years of waking up next to Damien and listening to Leo's laughter filling the house. And now, this, she sank into the chair, the letter trembling in her hands. Her thoughts were a storm she could not calm. Elena. The woman who had, as she vaguely remembered, been an almost legendary figure in Damien's past, a first love, a confidant, perhaps even an obstacle Sophia had never truly understood. And now she had left this breadcrumb, this relic of the past, as if to remind Sophia that the life she cherished might not have been entirely hers. Sophia's hand trembled as she smoothed the letter against her lap. She remembered the day Damien had proposed. The way he had knelt, eyes shining, voice steady but tender. She had believed, with all her heart, that he had chosen her freely, that he had loved her enough to build a life together. And yet, now a whisper from the past suggested, maybe not entirely. The quiet in the study deepened. Outside, a crow cawed, breaking the spell. Sophia shook her head, trying to focus. She needed facts, not fears. She needed understanding. A knock at the door startled her. Sophia? Everything okay? Damien's voice came, light and casual, though concerned. Yeah, just working on some paperwork, she said, folding the letter hastily and tucking it into a drawer. She smiled, forcing normalcy. Nothing to worry about. Damien peeked in, towel draped around his neck, hair damp from his morning shower. Paperwork. He raised an eyebrow, amused. Since when do you enjoy taxes? Sophia laughed lightly, the sound hollow even to her own ears. It's a new hobby. He shrugged and kissed her forehead. All right, bookworm. Don't get lost in the numbers too long. Breakfast is waiting. As he left, Sophia exhaled slowly. She tried to focus on her coffee, the way the steam curled, the way the light caught in the cup. But the letter burned in her mind. Elena had written it. Elena had known Damien. And somehow, Elena had influenced the path that led him to her. Questions spun around in her head. How much of Damien's love had been nudged? How much of her life had been designed by someone else's hand? Her chest tightened with a mixture of fear, anger, and something she couldn't yet name. Sophia tried to think about Leo. Her son, with his wide, curious eyes and the way he always ran to her with a story or a drawing or a broken toy. Elena had even mentioned him in that cryptic postscript. Did you notice that the child likes you too? A casual comment, but it pierced her heart. Elena knew. Elena had watched, calculated, observed. The morning stretched, but Sophia could not settle. She tried to read a book, tried to focus on her work, tried to ignore the letter. But every time her mind wandered, she saw Damien's smiling face, remembered his laughter, the way he held her hand in the dark, and the way she had always believed in the purity of their love. And then Elena's words struck again. By noon, she made a decision. She would not confront Damien yet. Not until she understood the full story. She had to know the truth, the whole truth, from the source herself. Elena Marlowe. The woman who had left traces of herself in their life, like footprints in wet cement, shaping the future without anyone noticing. Sophia's heart pounded with a mixture of dread and determination. That evening, when Damien came home, cheerful and unaware, Sophia acted as usual. She smiled, cooked, and laughed with Leo, hiding the turmoil that churned within her. But deep down, a plan was forming. She would go north, to Elena's residence, to uncover what had really happened 8 years ago. To understand Damien's past, Elena's role, and the real foundation of the life she had built. As she tucked Leo into bed that night, he hugged her tightly. "Mom, are you sad?" he asked, his small face buried in her shoulder. "No, sweetheart," she whispered, stroking his hair. "Mommy's fine. Just thinking." After he fell asleep, Sophia sat by the window, staring at the moonlight spilling across the garden. The letter lay on the desk, mocking and whispering in the silence. She traced Elena's handwriting one more time, her fingers brushing the words that had shattered her peace. Tomorrow, she decided, she would begin her journey. And she would uncover the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Because some secrets, once discovered, demanded action. And some loves, once tested, had to prove their strength. Sophia woke before dawn, though she hadn't meant to. Her room was quiet, the soft hum of the city barely reaching her through the curtains. The letter from Elena Marlowe lingered in her mind like a stubborn echo, bouncing off every corner of her thoughts. She sat up, clutching the covers to her chest, staring at the ceiling as if it might somehow offer answers. 8 years. 8 years of laughter, mornings with Leo's sticky little hugs, dinners where Damien tried to convince her to eat more dessert, quiet evenings spent reading side by side on the sofa. And now, Elena. A ghost from the past, materialized in the form of a simple letter, making Sophia question everything she had believed. Was Damien's love real? Had Elena shaped it all, nudged him toward her as if she were a puppeteer controlling strings Sophia didn't even know existed? The thought made her stomach turn. She had always trusted Damien implicitly. She had loved him fully, without reservation, without doubt. But the tiny seed of doubt Elena had planted now grew, twisting in the soil of her mind. She rose from bed, walking to the study, careful not to wake Leo. The letter sat where she had left it, almost smug in its permanence. Sophia picked it up again, reading and rereading the words. "I wish your partner was Sophia. If you would stay by Sophia's side, I would be so relieved. P.S. Did you notice that the child likes you too?" Each read was worse than the last. Relief? What did Elena mean by relief? That Damien had been persuaded? That their marriage had been manipulated? And the note about Leo, it made Sophia's chest ache. Her son, innocent and small, somehow a pawn in a game she had never known existed. Her reflection in the window caught her eye, pale in the early light, eyes rimmed with worry. She looked older than her 34 years, and her hands trembled slightly as she traced the folds of the letter. Sophia poured herself a cup of tea, trying to ground herself. She sipped, focusing on the warmth in her hands, the aroma of chamomile filling her nose. But even the tea, a comfort she had always relied on, offered no solace. Questions churned relentlessly. Had Damien ever loved Elena? Had he been happy with her? Or had he simply been nudged into her arms, a choice guided by someone else's hand? And if he had truly loved her all along, would knowing this change anything? Could she look at him the same way again? Her mind replayed fragments of the past. The day they had met, Damien's shy smile, the awkward first date where he had spilled wine on her sleeve and apologized profusely, the way he had looked at her as if she were the only person in the world. And yet, had Elena been there, a silent force behind the scenes? Sophia shook her head, trying to dispel the spiraling thoughts. She couldn't know yet. She had to see Elena, hear it from the source. Until then, all speculation would only drive her further into despair. But the heart, as she had learned in quiet, solitary moments, was not so easily controlled. It remembered love and warmth and trust long before reason could step in. And hers remembered Damien, his gentle words, his kindness, the way he laughed with Leo in the morning sunlight. Could she really believe that 8 years of real moments could be overwritten by a letter? By mid-morning, Sophia decided she needed movement, a task to keep her from drowning in spiraling thoughts. She went into the garden, raking leaves with methodical attention, pretending that each motion could sweep away the doubts planted in her mind. Leo came running, barefoot, his small hands grabbing hers. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked, tilting his head, sensing the tension she tried so hard to hide. Sophia forced a smile, kneeling to meet his gaze. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about flowers. Leo frowned, unconvinced, and ran back to Damien, who had appeared in the garden in a t-shirt and worn jeans, holding a small watering can. Damien's presence should have comforted her. He always did. But today, even his closeness made the ache in her chest sharper. Morning, love, Damien said, leaning against the fence. You're up early. His eyes, warm and attentive, scanned hers. You look tired. Did you sleep well? Just thinking, Sophia replied vaguely, her gaze fixed on a stray leaf drifting in the breeze. Damien's brows furrowed slightly. He stepped closer, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Soph, you know you can tell me anything, right? She nodded, smiling faintly, but the lie tasted bitter on her tongue. She wanted to tell him everything, the letter, Elena, the doubts, but her love for him, still raw and true, stopped her. Not yet. She needed proof, needed clarity, before she could risk the storm that her questions might unleash. Later, when Leo napped, Sophia sat again in her study, staring at the letter. Her thoughts were a tangle of love, doubt, and fear. The safe, happy world she had built with Damien felt fragile, almost unreal. She touched the envelope, feeling the ridges of Elena's handwriting, as if tracing it could somehow unravel the past. The truth was out there, somewhere, waiting for her to confront it. And Sophia, despite the fear that clawed at her heart, knew she would go north. She would see Elena. She would demand answers. She would uncover the story that had shaped her life without her knowledge. Because love, she realized, could survive mistakes, misunderstandings, and even manipulations, but only if faced with courage. And Sophia Hartwell was determined to be brave, even if it broke her heart along the way. She tucked the letter carefully into a folder, setting it aside for now, and looked out at the winter sunlight spilling over the garden. The world continued on, bright and indifferent, while she prepared to walk into a past that refused to stay buried. And for the first time in hours, she felt a flicker of determination. Whatever Elena had left behind, whatever truths had been twisted in shadows, Sophia would face them. She would know everything. And she would truly choose what to do with her love, her marriage, and her life. Damien Blackwood never considered himself a mind reader. But there was something about Sophia, her expressions, her pauses, the slight frown that sometimes hovered over her lips that always gave him a clue when she was troubled. And today, from the moment he stepped into the house, he sensed it. She was in the study, her shoulders slightly hunched, eyes distant as she rifled through papers. When she noticed him, she smiled, a small, fragile thing that didn't quite reach her eyes. Damien frowned. Sophia, he called softly, crossing the room. The sunlight caught in her hair, golden and untamed, and he felt a pang of something he didn't like, worry. Everything okay? She blinked at him, almost startled, then nodded. Yes, just a lot of work today. Her voice carried a forced cheerfulness. Damien leaned against the desk, watching her. Work doesn't usually make you frown like that. Are you hiding something from me? Sophia froze, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. Hiding something from Damien was unnatural. But how could she explain the letter, Elena, the doubts swirling in her mind? Not yet. Not until she understood the full story. I'm fine, she said again, a little too firmly. Damien shook his head, smiling wryly. You're not fine. You never are when you say that. He crouched slightly, picking up a notebook from the desk, flipping through it casually, trying to seem nonchalant. You know, I can usually tell when you're lying to protect me. And I think right now you're lying to protect yourself. Sophia's throat tightened. She wanted to protest, to assure him that nothing was wrong, but her voice caught. She was grateful, in a small, painful way, that he could see right through her. He always had that ability. Damien sat beside her, careful to respect her space, yet close enough that the warmth of his presence seemed to pierce through the tension in the room. Soph, whatever it is, we can face it together. I don't care if it's big or small, past or present. We'll figure it out. Her heart ached. She wanted to believe him, wanted to tell him everything, but fear held her tongue. She wasn't sure if telling him now would protect their love or unravel it. So she nodded, letting a quiet sigh escape instead of words. You're acting mysterious, Damien teased lightly, though his eyes remained searching. I'm beginning to think there's a secret I'm not supposed to know. A conspiracy, maybe? Sophia laughed softly, almost genuinely. You? Conspiracies? She shook her head, forcing a smile. I don't think you could even keep a secret from yourself. Damien chuckled, but the warmth in his eyes didn't fade. Touché. He leaned back, stretching, then glanced around the study. Are you sure you're not worried about anything else? His voice was softer now, almost a whisper, as if afraid that pressing too hard might break the fragile tension in the air. Sophia hesitated, then shook her head again. No, just thinking about the past. The words felt heavier than she intended, almost like a confession. Damien's brow furrowed. The past? He leaned closer, studying her face. Soph, whatever it is, you don't have to carry it alone. The way he said it, the earnest, unwavering trust in his voice made Sophia's chest tighten. She wanted to believe it. She wanted to trust that no shadow from the past could shake the foundation of their life. Yet, Elena's letter lingered like smoke, curling through her thoughts and refusing to dissipate. Maybe I'll tell you later, Sophia murmured, her fingers twisting the edge of a piece of paper. I just need to figure some things out first. Damien nodded slowly, sensing both her need for space and the walls she was beginning to build. He reached out, gently brushing her hand with his thumb. All right, he said softly. But don't shut me out completely. Please. She nodded again, words failing her. She watched him leave the study to check on Leo, the small child's laughter now echoing from the hallway. Watching Damien interact with Leo, the easy warmth between father and son, Sophia felt her heart ache even more. Her love for Damien was unwavering, yet the letter had planted a seed of doubt she couldn't yet uproot. Later, while preparing tea, Sophia's mind drifted to Elena. She pictured the woman she had never met in person, yet who had left invisible threads entwined in her life. Damien had loved her first, she knew, and yet somehow, Elena had influenced the path that had brought him to her. How much of their life was truly theirs, and how much had been guided by someone else's hand? A sudden noise drew her attention. Leo had knocked over a stack of blocks in the living room. Damien's laughter followed, playful and light, and Sophia felt a pang of longing for the simplicity of their past mornings, before doubts, before letters, before shadows creeping into the edges of her perfect life. She sipped her tea, letting the warmth spread through her hands. Damien's presence was comforting, yet the questions continued to gnaw at her. And somewhere, deep inside, a quiet resolve was forming. She had to know the truth about Damien, about Elena, about the past that had shaped their present. Because love, she realized, wasn't only about trust. It was also about courage, the courage to confront the unknown, to face pain, and to choose again, fully and without hesitation. Sophia set down her cup, a faint determination glinting in her eyes. Tomorrow, she decided, she would begin taking steps to uncover Elena's story. And she would face whatever truths awaited her, because only then could she truly know the depth and authenticity of the love she shared with Damien. And Damien, unaware of the storm gathering quietly in her mind, continued to laugh with Leo, thinking the morning was perfect, blissfully ignorant of the letter that had begun to crack the surface of their happiness. Sophia sat alone in the study that evening, the soft glow of a desk lamp illuminating the scattered papers around her. Outside, the world was quiet, and the gentle hum of the street lamps painted the walls in muted gold. She tried to focus on something, anything, her work, the tepid notes she had left unfinished, but her mind refused to cooperate. The letter from Elena hovered in her thoughts like a ghost she could not exorcise. She had spent hours replaying her memories of Damien, looking for the first hints of Elena's influence. There were moments that had seemed insignificant at the time, a wistful glance at an old photograph, a fleeting hesitation when mentioning a name, a story from the past that had seemed harmless enough. Now, all of them took on new meaning. She remembered the whispers she had overheard from the first months of their marriage, when Damien had spoken of a friend from the north who had helped him through difficult choices. At the time, Sophia had assumed it was simply a mentor or confidant. But now, the pieces began to align in a way that made her stomach twist. Elena Marlowe. The name felt like it carried both charm and danger. She had always been aware of her presence in Damien's life, but it had been distant, abstract. Not a tangible force capable of shaping the course of her own life. And yet, that single letter revealed the truth. Elena had been there, silently nudging, observing, deciding. Sophia opened a small box of mementos she had kept from the early days of their marriage. Letters from Damien, photographs of trips, old movie tickets, they were all evidence of love, laughter, and life built together. And yet, every smile in those photos now carried a question mark. Had Damien chosen her freely, or had Elena's hand been guiding the path all along? The first memory that struck her was from the day Damien had proposed. She remembered the sun-dappled garden, the way he had knelt, eyes steady and bright, heart laid bare. She had believed in that moment completely, trusted every word, every gesture. And yet, the letter suggested that perhaps there had been influence, persuasion, intention from another. Her chest tightened as she considered it. The thought of her life being, in part, orchestrated by someone else was almost unbearable. Yet, she could not ignore the truth she sensed beneath Elena's words. Damien had loved her. That much she had never doubted. But how had Elena's involvement shaped that love? Had it made him more willing, more attentive, more present? Sophia leaned back in her chair, pressing her palms to her eyes. She had spent 8 years trusting Damien fully, loving him completely, without reservation. And now she faced a dissonance she wasn't sure she could reconcile. The love she had experienced had been real, undeniably so, but had it been influenced? Shaped? Guided by someone else's hand? A faint knock at the door startled her. "Mom?" Leo's small voice called. He stood in the doorway, wearing his oversized pajamas, hair tousled like little golden feathers. "Are you crying?" Sophia forced a smile, brushing a tear from her cheek. "No, honey, I'm just thinking." He stepped inside, worry knitting his brow. "You're thinking a lot lately." She pulled him into a hug, inhaling the scent of his hair. "Yes, sweetie, I am. But it's nothing to worry about." Leo nodded, still uneasy, and scampered back to his toys. Sophia watched him for a moment, the innocence of his small gestures grounding her. She realized that whatever storm of doubt Elena's letter had sparked, she had to face it for herself, not for anyone else. She returned to the mementos, running her fingers over Damien's handwriting, letters that now seemed both familiar and strange. There was no evidence that his love had been anything but genuine, but the gaps, the moments she had never understood, loomed larger now. Sophia decided she needed more than memories. She needed stories, details, evidence, anything that could illuminate Elena's role. And so she began writing down what she remembered, compiling a chronology of her early days with Damien, noting any reference to Elena. Every detail seemed small, yet each could reveal a thread of truth waiting to be pulled. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the ticking of the clock. Sophia's mind raced. She realized that what had seemed like a perfect life was layered with unseen forces. And while Damien's love had been real, Elena had left footprints in their lives, subtle, invisible, but undeniably there. The room felt colder now, the night settling heavily outside. Sophia folded the papers she had written, her hands trembling slightly. She could not let Elena's letter remain a secret in her mind. She had to confront it, understand it, and face the reality that her marriage, her happiness, and her heart were intertwined with another woman's past. She rose, walking to the window and looking out at the moonlit garden. The shadows of the trees stretched across the lawn like fingers, reminding her that the past was never truly gone. It lingered, shaping the present in ways one could not always see. Sophia took a deep breath. Tomorrow, she decided, she would begin taking steps to uncover Elena's story. The uncertainty, the fear, and the grief were heavy, but she knew she could not remain passive. To understand her husband, to preserve her love, she had to face the past head-on. Because some truths, she realized, were worth the heartbreak. And some loves, no matter how tested, were worth the fight. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, but Sophia didn't feel its warmth. She sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around her coffee cup, staring into the liquid as if the swirling patterns might reveal answers. Damien moved around the kitchen with his usual morning ease, humming softly, flipping a pancake, pouring orange juice, blissfully unaware that his carefully constructed world was beginning to fracture. Sophia wanted to speak, wanted to demand the truth from Damien, to shake him gently and ask, was it real? Did you ever love her? Did she push you into this? But fear held her back. Fear of his reaction, fear of shattering the fragile trust they had built, and fear of discovering a truth she might not be ready to face. So she remained silent, letting the morning stretch between them like a taut wire. Damien glanced at her over the edge of the counter, frowning. "Soph, you've been quiet since breakfast. Is something bothering you?" She forced a smile. "I'm fine, really. Just thinking about work." Damien didn't look convinced. He set the spatula down and walked over, brushing a gentle hand over her arm. "You know you can tell me anything, right? Anything at all." I won't, not yet, Sophia interrupted softly and immediately regretted the sharpness in her voice. Damien paused, studying her face, eyes searching. Not yet, he repeated, echoing her words. Soph, whatever it is, I don't want you carrying it alone. But if you need space, I can respect that too. She nodded, heart pounding. Space. Yes, she needed space. Time to think, to plan, to gather the courage to confront Elena directly rather than risk hurting Damien with half-understood truths. After Damien left for a quick morning errand, Sophia sat down at her desk, the letter still resting there like a silent provocateur. She traced Elena's handwriting with her finger, trying to read more than the words to feel the intention behind them. Relief? Gratitude? Or something darker, manipulative, calculating? Her mind flashed back to fleeting conversations she'd overheard long ago, snippets of Damien's past that now seemed loaded with hidden meaning. She recalled a photograph on his desk at the old law firm, showing him with a woman whose smile seemed too familiar. She had never questioned it before. Now every detail took on weight. Sophia's hand trembled as she folded the letter, tucking it into a folder labeled Past Mysteries. She knew she had to approach this delicately. Confront Damien directly without context could plant seeds of doubt that didn't exist, or worse, hurt the man who had never given her reason to doubt him until now. Instead, she decided on a different path. Elena had left her a door to the past, however small. Sophia would go through it cautiously, seeking understanding. She would find Elena, hear the story firsthand, and then only then would she speak to Damien. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Leo had returned from school early with a mild cold, cheeks flushed, eyes watery. Sophia set aside the letter and swept him into a hug, letting his small frame anchor her in the present. Mom, I don't like feeling sick, he whined, curling against her shoulder. I know, sweetheart, she said softly, kissing his forehead. We'll take care of you. Damien returned shortly after, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers he had picked on his way home. For you, he said, setting them on the table. Because even if something's bothering you, I want you to know I see you, sophomore. I love you. Sophia's chest ached. She wanted to tell him, to spill everything, but she couldn't. Not yet. Instead, she smiled, tears threatening to spill. Thank you, she whispered. The day passed in a blur of mundane routine: soup for Leo, dishes, phone calls, and quiet moments where Sophia drifted between thought and task. And all the while, Elena's words lingered in her mind, insisting on answers, demanding action. That night, after tucking Leo into bed, Sophia lingered by his door. She watched his chest rise and fall, so peaceful, so innocent. He had no idea how his life had been subtly shaped by someone else's past. She vowed silently that she would protect him, her marriage, and herself, no matter the cost. Returning to the study, Sophia lit a single lamp and spread out all the letters and notes she had found, along with the new folder. She began making lists: dates, references, names, events, all tiny breadcrumbs that might lead her to Elena. The quiet tick of the clock was her only companion as she worked, her mind sharp and determined. By the time the house had fallen silent, Sophia felt a grim satisfaction. She had chosen her path: patience, observation, and careful investigation. She would confront Elena first, not Damien. She would seek the truth in its entirety before speaking, before risking their love. As she blew out the lamp, Sophia whispered into the dark, a quiet promise to herself. I will know the truth, Elena Marlowe. And when I do, I will decide what it means for me, for Damien, and for Leo. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, carrying a whisper of the unknown. The past was waiting, and Sophia Hartwell was ready to face it. The study smelled faintly of old paper and polished wood, a comforting scent that now carried a weight of unease. Sophia sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by stacks of envelopes, letters, and faded photographs she had discovered hidden in drawers and boxes over the years. Each piece was a whisper from the past, a thread connecting Damien and Elena in ways Sophia had never imagined. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up a delicate envelope, sealed with a thin ribbon that had yellowed with time. The handwriting was unmistakable, Elena's elegant, flowing script. Sophia hesitated before opening it, as if the act itself could change everything. Dear Damien, I hope you find the courage to follow your heart. I only wish for your happiness, even if it is not with me. Please take care of her. She is remarkable, and you deserve to love fully. Sophia's chest tightened. The words were simple, almost tender, but they carried a hidden weight. Elena had been involved, Yes, but her intentions weren't malicious. She had stepped aside, guiding Damien towards Sophia, believing it was the best choice for him. Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. Relief battled with anger, confusion, and a strange sense of betrayal. She had loved Damien wholly, without reservation, yet here was proof that someone else had influenced the path their lives had taken. Could love truly be influenced in such a way? And did it matter if Damien's feelings were genuine now? Years later, she reached for another letter, dated months before Damien had proposed. Damien, I see how she makes you light up. I cannot compete with that. I hope one day you will thank me for showing you the path you were meant to take. Stay true to your heart. Elena, Sophia's fingers trembled as she read, tracing the letters with disbelief. Elena had orchestrated much, but always with kindness, with the hope of happiness for Damien. It wasn't manipulation in the cruel sense, it was subtle guidance, like a gentle hand nudging a lost traveler. Still, the knowledge stirred a storm inside her. The life she had built, the love she had nurtured, the trust she had placed in Damien, all of it had been shaped, in part, by Elena. Could she forgive the intrusion, even if it had been well-intentioned? She leaned back, her mind flooded with memories. Damien's shy smiles, the way he had held her hand on their first date, the long evenings talking about hopes, dreams, and fears. Every moment had been real. Every laugh, every whispered, "I love you," had been genuine. Elena hadn't stolen Damien's love, she had only helped reveal it. Sophia's thoughts drifted to Leo. The letter had hinted that he liked her too, a seemingly innocent comment that now felt layered with meaning. She recalled small moments over the years, Leo laughing at her jokes, reaching for her hand without prompting, following her around with his little stories. Elena had seen it, noticed the bond forming, and had quietly approved. Even in the shadows, she had cared. A sudden noise startled Sophia. Leo had wandered in, curious about the study's treasure trove of letters. "Mom, what's all this?" he asked, eyes wide. Sophia forced a smile. "Just old papers, sweetheart. Memories from before you were born." Leo tilted his head, sensing her tension. "Are they happy memories?" "Yes," Sophia said softly, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Some are happy, some are just lessons." Leo frowned slightly but returned to his toys, leaving Sophia alone with the letters. She spread them out on the desk, carefully examining dates, handwriting, and the subtleties in Elena's tone. The picture that emerged was complicated, layered, and entirely human. Elena had loved Damien once, but she had stepped aside with grace, ensuring the man she cared for found joy, even if it wasn't with her. Sophia felt a shift inside her, a blend of understanding and sorrow. She realized that Elena's presence in their past didn't diminish Damien's love for her. If anything, it had allowed that love to blossom fully. The guidance had been invisible but crucial, like sunlight filtering through clouds. She sighed, leaning back in her chair. Her fingers lingered on the last letter she had read, tracing the words as if seeking reassurance. The past was complicated, messy, and filled with choices that no one could undo. But it had also brought her to this life, to Damien, to Leo. And that truth, the love she held in her hands now, was hers to cherish. Sophia closed the letters, her mind buzzing with both relief and lingering questions. She still needed answers directly from Elena, to hear the story in her own words, to fully understand the nuances of the past. But for the first time since discovering the initial letter, Sophia felt a tentative clarity. The path forward wasn't clouded by doubt alone. It was illuminated by the knowledge that Damien's love for her had been sincere, enduring, and real. That night, as she tucked Leo into bed and watched his peaceful sleep, Sophia made a quiet promise to herself. She would seek the truth from Elena, confront the past without fear, and protect the love she had worked so hard to nurture. The letters had shown her that understanding was possible, even in a world complicated by history and human emotion. And with that understanding, Sophia felt a spark of courage she hadn't felt in days. The journey north to meet Elena was no longer a fearful obligation, it was a step toward reclaiming the full story of her life, her love, and her family. The past had spoken, and Sophia Hartwell was ready to listen. The house was unusually quiet that evening. Leo had been tucked into bed earlier than usual, claiming a headache, leaving the adults alone in the soft glow of the living room. Sophia sat on the sofa, her hands folded tightly in her lap, the folder of letters resting on the coffee table like a silent accusation. Damien entered with 2 mugs of tea, the steam curling in the lamplight, and offered one to her. "You've been quiet all day," he said softly, setting the mug down beside her. I can feel it, sophomore, something's on your mind. She looked at him, her chest tightening. The words she wanted to say fought with the love she still held for him. After a moment, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Damien, I found letters. From Elena. His body stiffened slightly, but he didn't flinch or look away. Instead, he nodded slowly. I suspected this day would come, he admitted. I wanted to tell you eventually. But I didn't know how. Sophia's throat constricted. Tell me the truth. Damien, did she persuade you? Did she make you marry me? Damien sat beside her, taking her hands in his thumb brushing lightly over her knuckles. Sophia, listen to me, he said, his voice steady but layered with emotion. I loved you. From the moment I met you, I loved you. Elena, she was part of my past, yes. She guided me, encouraged me to open my heart, to see what I truly wanted. But choosing you, that was always my choice. Mine and mine alone. Sophia felt a tremor run through her. Part relief, part disbelief. She had spent days wondering if her love had been real or engineered by someone else. Damien's words were reassuring, yet fragile, like a bridge over a chasm of doubt. I don't know if I can just accept it, she admitted, tears pooling in her eyes. 8 years. I loved you fully. And now, knowing someone else influenced our beginning. I feel, I don't know, manipulated. Damien's expression softened, and he leaned closer, resting his forehead gently against hers. I can't change the past, sophomore. I can't erase the letters or the choices that were made before we met. But I can promise you this. Every day since then, every moment with you and Leo, my love has been real. It hasn't been influenced. It hasn't been guided. It's been ours. Only ours. Sophia closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his hands and the sincerity in his voice seep into her. She remembered small gestures, him holding her hand during thunderstorms, making her coffee just the way she liked it, laughing at her terrible puns, and the way he adored Leo without hesitation. All of it had been genuine. I guess. I just needed to hear it from you, she said softly, opening her eyes to meet his. I needed to know that our love wasn't a result of someone else's plan. Damien smiled, though it was tinged with regret. I should have told you sooner. I didn't want to burden you with the past, but I see now that hiding it might have made it worse. Sophia nodded, her fingers tightening around his. Elena, she only wanted what was best for you, didn't she? Damien sighed, a mixture of pain and fondness crossing his features. Yes. She cared about me, yes. And she saw that you were the right person for me. She wanted me to be happy, and in doing so, she nudged me toward you. But it was my choice, Sophia. Always my choice. Tears slid down Sophia's cheeks, but this time they were not just for confusion or fear, they were for relief, for love, for the undeniable bond they had built together. I want to believe you, she whispered. I want to trust that our life, our love, it's real. Damien kissed her hands gently, his own eyes glistening. It is, sophomore. I swear it. And I'll spend every day proving that to you if I have to. Sophia leaned against him, letting his presence ground her. The ache of doubt remained, faint and distant, but it was tempered by the sincerity of his confession. She realized that love wasn't just about the past, it was about choice, commitment, and proof in every action. Damien had chosen her, every single day, and that truth was stronger than any shadow from the past. They sat together in silence, hearts beating in tandem, the letters still on the table, but no longer as menacing as they had been. They were a reminder of history, yes, but not of manipulation. Instead, they marked the beginning of understanding a fragile, delicate bridge between past and present. For the first time since finding Elena's letter, Sophia felt something like peace. The past had its place, but it no longer threatened the foundation of her family. And with Damien by her side, she knew she could face whatever truths still awaited her, including meeting Elena herself. The night deepened around them, quiet and protective. Sophia rested her head against Damien's shoulder, letting herself finally exhale. She had heard his confession, and in that honesty, she found a small but powerful certainty: love, tested and questioned, could endure. And for now, that was enough. The early morning air bit at Sophia's cheeks as she stood on the platform, suitcase by her side, Leo clinging to her hand and Damien hovering a step behind. The train to the northern town where Elena lived was due in minutes, and each passing moment tightened the knot in Sophia's stomach. Are you sure about this? Damien asked gently, his hand resting on hers. His eyes searched hers, steady and reassuring, though a trace of worry lingered. Sophia nodded, though her voice trembled slightly. I have to know. I need to understand everything, why she wrote the letters, what role she played in our lives. It's the only way I can truly move forward. Damien swallowed, his jaw tight. I understand. I just hate the thought of you facing this alone, even if I can't go with you the entire way. You've already given me everything I needed, she said softly, squeezing his hand. Your truth, your love, your honesty. It's enough to carry me through whatever I find. Leo tugged at her sleeve. Mom, will I see Elena too? His small face was hopeful but curious, unaware of the full complexity of the past he was about to step into. No, sweetheart, Sophia replied, kneeling to his level. We're just going to meet her first, so I can understand her story. You'll hear about her later, I promise. The whistle of the arriving train made Sophia's heart skip a beat. She lifted her chin, trying to steel herself against the storm of emotions she knew waited on the other side. As the train doors slid open, Damien hugged her tightly. Be careful. And remember, you're not alone. Whatever happens, I trust you to handle it. And I trust us. Sophia returned the hug, letting his warmth ground her. I'll come back with answers, she whispered. The ride north was long, the countryside blurring past the windows in streaks of green and gold. Sophia's mind replayed every moment she had uncovered the letters, the mementos, Damien's confession. She tried to prepare herself for Elena, to anticipate the woman behind the carefully worded notes, but every scenario in her mind ended the same way, with questions unanswered, truths half hidden, and a confrontation that could either heal or fracture her heart further. By mid-afternoon, the train slowed, winding through hills and sparse forests, finally arriving at the small station of the northern town. The air here was cooler, crisper, and carried the scent of pine and earth, a stark contrast to the warmth and familiarity of home. Sophia gripped her suitcase handle tightly, her resolve solidifying with every step off the train. The town was quaint, almost picturesque, with cobblestone streets and low, ivy-covered houses. Sophia followed the directions she had carefully memorized from Elena's old letters and notes, each step bringing her closer to answers she had longed for. Finally, she reached the house. It was modest, yet elegant in its own understated way. Whitewashed walls and a small garden gave the impression of serenity, but Sophia knew better. This house held secrets, and the woman inside had shaped the past of her family in ways she was only beginning to understand. Sophia paused at the door, taking a deep breath. She could feel her heart hammering, a mix of fear, anticipation, and curiosity. She raised her hand to knock, hesitating for a moment. The door opened before she could touch it, and there she stood, Elena Marlowe. Elena looked much as Sophia had imagined, poised, composed, with an air of quiet strength. But there was warmth in her eyes, a softness that surprised Sophia, given the role she had played in their past. Miss Hartwell, Elena said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of years. I've been expecting you. Sophia swallowed hard, gripping her suitcase strapped tightly. Elena, I need to understand. About the letters, about Damien, about everything. Elena nodded, stepping aside to allow Sophia in. I expected this day would come. Please come in. There is much to discuss. The door closed behind her, shutting out the crisp northern air and leaving Sophia in the quiet tension of the house. She had arrived seeking answers, and she would find them, but she knew, deep down, that understanding the past would not be simple. It would be messy, emotional, and perhaps painful. But it was necessary. As Sophia stepped fully inside, Elena regarded her with a mixture of empathy and anticipation. The stage was set for truths to be revealed, and the first chapter of this confrontation was about to begin. Sophia took a deep breath, straightening her shoulders. Whatever Elena had to say, whatever secrets were revealed, she would face them with courage. Because only by understanding the past could she fully claim her present and her future with Damien and Leo. The trip north was just the beginning. The living room smelled faintly of lavender and old books, a calmness that belied the storm in Sophia's chest. She stepped inside, suitcase in hand, and looked around. Everything was simple but elegant. A vase of fresh flowers on the table, sunlight filtering softly through lace curtains, a quiet order that spoke of someone who valued control and clarity. Elena Marlowe stood near the window, hands folded neatly in front of her, watching Sophia with a careful, unreadable expression. She was taller than Sophia had expected, her posture perfect, yet there was a softness in her gaze that disarmed rather than intimidated. Miss Hartwell, Elena said again, this time with a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes entirely. Please sit. We have much to discuss. Sophia placed her suitcase down, her fingers brushing the fabric nervously. Thank you, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I need to understand everything. About Damien, about the letters, about you. Elena's expression softened. I understand. And I will tell you everything I can. But first, you must know that my intention was never to hurt anyone. I only ever wanted Damien to be happy, and in doing so, I acted in ways that I thought would guide him toward the right choice. Sophia's heart ached at the words. She had imagined Elena as cunning, manipulative, even selfish. But here she was, earnest and almost apologetic, a woman shaped by care and conscience. Guided him toward me? Sophia asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. Elena nodded. Yes. From the moment I realized Damien's heart was leaning toward you, I stepped back. I encouraged, advised, sometimes nudged, but always with his happiness in mind. Not mine. Sophia swallowed, her emotions tangled. Relief? Yes. Confusion? Absolutely. And still, there was an ache in her chest, the ache of discovering that the life she had built was subtly shaped by someone else's influence. So, all the letters, all the advice, it was just guidance? Elena's eyes softened further. Guidance, yes. I could see he was hesitant at times, unsure of his own heart. I only wanted to make sure he recognized the person who truly completed him. That person was you, Sophia. Sophia blinked, the words sinking slowly. It was strange to hear someone claim to have facilitated her happiness, even if indirectly. Yet, hearing it aloud made the past make sense. The careful, almost invisible presence Elena had maintained, the subtle observations she had left in letters, the hints that had never been obvious until now. And Damien, Sophia faltered. He chose me freely, didn't he? Even with all this. Elena's smile was tinged with sadness. Yes, he chose you every single day. My role was minor, invisible, and transient. The love he has for you, the life you've built together, that is entirely yours. Tears threatened Sophia's eyes. She had feared betrayal, manipulation, a hidden hand that had stolen her love. But here was a truth that was simple and profound. Damien's love had always been real, enduring, and his choice had been genuine. Elena's voice softened further. You must know, Sophia, I never expected to meet you like this. I feared resentment, anger, perhaps even hatred. But seeing you now, I see why he loved you, why he chose you. You are remarkable, and he is lucky to have you. Sophia took a deep breath, letting the words wash over her. The fear and tension she had carried for days, weeks even, began to ease. She had come seeking answers, and Elena had given them honestly, openly. I appreciate your honesty, Sophia said finally, her voice trembling slightly. I came here expecting confrontation. But what I see is someone who cared for him, in her own way, and who stepped aside so we could have our life. Elena nodded. Yes. And I hope that, someday, you can see that my actions were never meant to overshadow you. Damien's love is yours. Only yours. The room fell into a quiet moment of reflection. Sophia realized that the story of the past, though complex and emotionally fraught, did not have to define the future. The love she shared with Damien was not stolen, not manipulated. It had grown, nurtured by choices and actions, by time and trust. Finally, Sophia rose, her heart lighter than when she had arrived. Thank you, Elena, for your honesty, and for giving Damien the chance to choose his happiness. Elena's faint smile held warmth. He did choose, Sophia, and he has been wise to treasure it. That is all I could hope for. As Sophia left the northern house later that afternoon, suitcase in hand, she felt a profound sense of clarity. The past was no longer a shadow over her heart, it was a story she now understood. And with understanding came peace. She would return home to Damien and Leo, carrying not just answers, but a renewed certainty in the love and life they had built together. The journey north had given her truth, and that truth was enough to strengthen the bond she had always cherished. The northern house was quiet in the late afternoon, sunlight spilling across the polished wooden floor in warm streaks. Sophia sat on the edge of a chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Elena stood across from her, calm, measured, but there was a softness in her gaze that seemed to bridge the gap between their uneasy acquaintance and the shared history of Damien. I can see why you came, Elena began, her voice low but steady. You need answers. And I won't deny, your presence here brings back memories I thought I'd long since buried. Sophia's fingers tightened around the fabric of her dress. I need to know why you wrote the letters. Why you interfered in our lives. Did Damien ever feel anything for you? Or was it always me? Elena sighed, moving to the small window to glance outside at the garden bathed in late sunlight. I understand your fear, Sophia. I wouldn't blame you for feeling betrayed. But you must believe me when I say this. I never intended to hurt you. My role was never about winning him for myself, it was about ensuring his happiness, even if that happiness was with you. Sophia's breath caught. Even if it meant guiding him toward me? Elena turned to face her fully, eyes earnest. Yes. From the moment I realized he was torn, unsure of his heart, I encouraged him to follow what he truly wanted. I thought you were perfect for him, his match in ways I could never be. And I wanted him to see that clearly. Every letter, every suggestion, every word I wrote, it was meant to help him recognize the love he already felt for you. Sophia felt a mixture of relief and disbelief swirl inside her. Her stomach twisted with emotions she couldn't easily label, anger at the hidden influence, yes, but also a strange gratitude for Elena's honesty and a flicker of admiration for her selflessness. Did Damien ever feel the same way about you? Sophia asked, voice barely audible. Elena's face softened, tinged with sadness. No. I loved him, yes, in my own way, but it was never what he felt for you. He cared for me as a friend, as someone he trusted, but his heart, it was always yours, Sophia. That's why I stepped back. That's why I guided him toward you, knowing that the love he needed, true love, was something only you could give. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes, though she blinked them back. I never imagined it could be like this. I thought I was discovering betrayal, manipulation. Instead, it seems it was guidance. Elena nodded, stepping closer, her presence calm but unwavering. Guidance, yes. Invisible hands in the background, meant to illuminate his path, not obscure yours. And I hoped, prayed, even that you would recognize this for what it was, and not let it poison your love for him. Sophia's chest tightened. 8 years of love, shared moments, laughter, tears, all of it felt both fragile and eternal in that instant. The revelation wasn't easy, but it carried a clarity she hadn't anticipated. Damien's love had not been fabricated, nor had it been coerced. It had always been real. And the letters, Sophia's voice trembled slightly. The ones you left behind, hinting about Leo, you knew? Elena gave a faint, almost wistful smile. I noticed his little attachments, the way he gravitated toward you, how your presence lit up his eyes. I couldn't interfere, but it comforted me to see that the bond he formed with you and Damien was genuine. He was and is a part of the family's love, not a pawn in my plans. Sophia absorbed the words, letting the tension in her shoulders slowly release. The fear that her family, her husband, and her life were tainted began to ease, replaced by a fragile understanding. Elena had played a role, yes, but it had been a quiet, invisible one. Damien's devotion had never wavered. I don't know how to thank you, Sophia said finally. Not just for being honest, but for letting us have him. For stepping aside. Elena's gaze softened, a shadow of regret and relief crossing her features. I didn't step aside because I was weak. I stepped aside because I loved him enough to know that true love is not about possession, it's about choice. And he chose you, Sophia. Always. Sophia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of months of fear, doubt, and sleepless nights lift slightly. There were still questions, still lingering emotions, but the foundation beneath her heart, the reality of Damien's love, was intact. You've given me clarity, she admitted softly. Not just about Damien, but about everything. I can finally start understanding the past without it breaking me. Elena nodded, a quiet dignity in her posture. That was my hope. You deserve to know the truth, to see that your life and your love were never shadows of my past, but creations of your own hearts. And I am content to watch from the sidelines, knowing that the family I cared about is whole and loved. For the first time since arriving, Sophia allowed herself a small, unburdened smile. The tension that had clung to her like a second skin began to dissipate. She had come seeking answers, and she had them. Not all questions were fully answered, some subtleties of the past would remain, but the core truth was undeniable. Damien's love had been real, enduring, and sincere from the beginning. Standing, Sophia extended her hand. Thank you, Elena. For honesty. For clarity. For everything. Elena accepted the gesture with a nod and a faint, serene smile. Go back to him, Sophia. He's yours always. Protect that love, it's worth more than you realize. Sophia left the northern house with a newfound peace, the letters and memories no longer burdens but guides. She knew the journey ahead with Damien would still hold challenges, emotions to unpack, and trust to rebuild fully, but for the first time, the path forward was illuminated by truth. The ride home felt lighter, the landscape outside the window seeming brighter. Sophia's heart, once tangled with doubt, now carried clarity and purpose. Damien's love had survived the shadows of the past. And so would she. The train ride back home was quieter than Sophia expected. The northern town faded into the distance, replaced by familiar landscapes she had taken for granted for years: rolling hills, scattered cottages, the occasional glint of sunlight off a river. Yet her mind was far from peaceful. The conversation with Elena replayed over and over, each word sharpening her understanding, but also stirring old anxieties. She clutched the folder in her lap, the letters from Damien to Elena resting at the top. Elena had promised her access to these, proof that Damien's heart had never strayed, that his love had been hers alone. And now, with trembling hands, Sophia began to read. The first letter was delicate, written in Damien's familiar, careful handwriting. Elena, I am grateful for your guidance. I know you mean well, but my heart is clear. There is someone else, someone I cannot stop thinking about, whose presence has changed my world. I cannot and will not deny what I feel for her. I hope you understand. Sophia's fingers tightened around the paper. Even the smallest punctuation mark, the pause in his sentences, spoke volumes. This was no half-hearted reassurance, it was a declaration of devotion. Damien had acknowledged Elena's role, but his heart had always belonged to Sophia. She flipped to another letter, written just weeks before their engagement. Elena, I cannot imagine spending my life with anyone but her. You have been my friend, my confidant, and I will always be grateful. But my heart has chosen. It has chosen her, and it will remain steadfast. I hope you can respect that. Tears blurred Sophia's vision. For so long, she had feared that the foundation of her marriage had been tainted by manipulation or coercion. But Damien's words were clear, unwavering. His love had never wavered, never divided, never faltered. Yet reading these letters didn't erase the hurt entirely. The knowledge that someone else had guided the course of her life, however kindly, still stung. Sophia pressed her fingers to her temple, fighting the swirl of emotions: relief, gratitude, fear, and lingering doubt. By the time the train pulled into the station near their home, Sophia's resolve had solidified. She had proof, she had clarity, and she had a new perspective on the past. The letters were not just evidence, they were a testament to Damien's sincerity, a tangible reminder that his heart had been hers from the beginning. At home, the air felt heavier than she expected. Leo ran to greet her, his laughter piercing the tension like sunlight through clouds. Mom, did you bring stories from the north? Sophia smiled softly, ruffling his hair. Stories and lessons, she replied, trying to anchor herself in the present. She set the letters aside carefully, knowing she would return to them later when she had the space to fully absorb their significance. Damien noticed her pensive expression immediately. Soph, are you okay? He asked, voice laced with concern. I'm processing, she said honestly. There's a lot to take in. Elena, the letters, everything. He nodded, a faint tremor in his hands betraying his worry. I'm here. Whatever you need, we'll face it together. Later that evening, Sophia revisited the letters alone in the study. Each one painted a picture she had only begun to grasp: Damien's unwavering commitment, his respect for Elena, and above all, his unshakable love for her. The words bridged the gap between doubt and trust, between fear and understanding. She realized something important: the past, no matter how complicated, did not define their marriage. It had shaped it, yes, but it had not corrupted it. Damien's love had been real, constant, and fully hers. By the time she placed the last letter back in the folder, Sophia felt a fragile sense of peace. The old wounds of suspicion and insecurity were still present, but they were tempered now with understanding. She could see clearly that Damien's heart had never strayed and that the foundation of their marriage was solid, even if it had been influenced by unseen hands. Her thoughts drifted to Damien. She would need to speak with him soon, to share her revelations and rebuild the trust that had been shaken. But for the first time in weeks, she felt ready. Ready to face him, ready to confront the lingering fears, and ready to embrace the love that had never wavered. As she turned off the lamp and prepared for bed, Sophia made a silent promise to herself. No matter the shadows of the past, she would protect her family, nurture her love for Damien, and honor the trust that had always been the heart of their marriage. The journey of understanding was far from over, but the path was now illuminated by truth, and that was enough to give her hope. Sophia stepped through the familiar doorway of her home, the scent of home-cooked meals and Leo's laughter greeting her. She smiled faintly at the sight of her son running toward her, arms outstretched. "Mom," he squealed, tugging her into a warm hug. "Hey, Leo," she whispered, hugging him back, trying to anchor herself in the normalcy of the moment. But the storm inside her refused to settle. Each smile, each laugh, felt fragile against the echoes of Elena's words and Damien's letters. Damien appeared from the kitchen, drying his hands on a towel. His eyes lit up when he saw her, and he crossed the room in long strides. "Sophia, you're back. How was the trip?" Sophia forced a smile, keeping her voice light. "It was enlightening," she said softly, trying to sound normal. But inside, she felt a whirlwind of emotions: relief, anger, confusion, and the faint prick of betrayal. Damien tilted his head, concern knitting his brow. "Are you okay? You seem distant." Sophia hesitated, struggling to articulate the maelstrom of thoughts racing through her mind. "I'm fine," she said finally, though her tone betrayed her uncertainty. "It's just a lot to process. Elena, the letters, everything she told me. It's complicated." Damien's expression darkened slightly, worry etched into the lines of his face. "Complicated how?" Sophia looked down, unable to meet his eyes immediately. "I know you love me. I know that from the letters, from everything. But for 8 years, I've been living with the idea that our marriage might have been influenced, even orchestrated. And now, I don't know how to reconcile that with the life we've built together. My love for you is real, Damien," but her voice faltered. She saw the pain flash across his face, an emotion she had never wanted to evoke in him. Damien's hand reached for hers, gentle and insistent. "Sophia," he said softly, "I would never want you to doubt us. Every day, every moment, I've chosen you. Not because of Elena, not because of anyone else, but because you're you. Because my heart belongs to you. Always." Tears pricked Sophia's eyes, a mix of gratitude and lingering fear. "I want to believe that," she whispered. "I want to trust it fully. But knowing someone else nudged us together, it makes me feel like our foundation isn't entirely ours." Damien's grip tightened on her hand. "The foundation is ours. Elena only helped him see it faster, it didn't build it. You and I, Sophia, we built this life together. Every laugh, every fight, every quiet night, we chose each other. That's the foundation. Nothing else can change that." Sophia nodded slowly, letting his words sink in. But the unease remained. She loved him, yes, more than she could put into words. But the knowledge of past influence, however benevolent, left a shadow she couldn't ignore. That night, as Leo slept peacefully in his room, Sophia sat in the living room, staring at the soft glow of the lamp. She traced the edges of the letters Damien had written to Elena, feeling both comfort and unease. The letters proved his loyalty, yet they reminded her that love can be complex, layered, and influenced in ways she hadn't foreseen. Damien joined her quietly, sitting beside her without a word. He didn't ask, didn't prod, he simply offered his presence. Sophia leaned against him, heart pounding, thoughts racing. The storm inside her was far from over, but Damien's calm, steady presence was a lifeline she clung to. "I want us to be okay," she murmured, voice tinged with both hope and fear. "You will be," Damien said firmly, pressing a kiss to her temple. "We'll weather this storm together. You, me, and Leo. Nothing from the past can undo what we've built. Not even Elena, not even letters. We have each other." Sophia closed her eyes, letting herself breathe, letting his words settle into her heart. The storm hadn't passed, it wouldn't fully pass for some time, but she could feel the first threads of calm weaving through the chaos. The next days would be hard. Conversations would be necessary, tears would fall, and trust would need to be rebuilt piece by piece. But for the first time since discovering Elena's letter, Sophia felt that they had a path forward. A path where love, honesty, and courage could overcome doubt, where their family could remain whole. And for now, that was enough. Damien watched her from across the room, his chest tight, every instinct screaming that something was wrong. Sophia moved about the house like a ghost, polite but distant, her laughter faint and forced whenever Leo tried to coax her into play. He had tried to give her space, thinking she needed time to process the revelation of Elena's letters, the past influence, and the truth she had uncovered. But days had passed, and the distance between them felt like a canyon growing wider by the hour. "Sophia," he said finally, voice low but urgent as he stepped into the study where she sat, flipping through the family photo album. "Talk to me. Please. Don't shut me out." She glanced up, startled, eyes reflecting a mixture of guilt and sorrow. I'm okay," she murmured, though her tone betrayed her uncertainty. Damien's hands tightened into fists at his sides. "No, you're not okay. I can see it. You've been here physically, but your heart, it's somewhere else. Somewhere I can't reach." Sophia closed the album, her hands trembling. I need time, Damien. Time to process everything. It's a lot." He took a deep breath, stepping closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper that trembled with desperation. "I don't have time. I need you now. I need us now. I can't bear to see you drift away, even for a day." He faltered, the weight of his emotions crashing down on him. Damien sank to his knees before her, an uncharacteristic gesture that laid bare the raw vulnerability he usually hid behind calm composure. "Sophia, please," he said, his voice breaking. "I know Elena's letters, her influence. It's complicated, and I should have told you everything sooner. But my heart has always been yours. It's yours. I swear to God, everything I've done, every choice I've made, it's been for you. For us. For our family." Sophia's breath caught. Seeing him like this, falling, pleading, stripped of pride and composure, was overwhelming. Her love for him surged, but so did the fear, the lingering doubt from the past. "I can't lose you, Sophia," Damien continued, tears glistening in his eyes. "I can't stand the thought that you might question me, question us, question the life we've built. I would do anything, to earn back your trust. Tell me what I have to do. I'll do it. I'll prove it to you every single day if I have to." Sophia's chest tightened. She wanted to reach for him, to pull him close, but her mind was a whirlwind of emotions: love, fear, relief, and lingering hesitation. She had feared this confrontation, but now that it was here, it was more intense than she had imagined. I don't know if it's that simple," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's not just about trust. It's the past, Damien. The influence, the letters, Elena. It makes me wonder if our love started under false pretenses. Even if you say it's yours, I can't help but question the beginning." Damien shook his head, reaching for her hands, his grip firm but trembling. "Sophia, listen to me. That beginning, every moment that led us here, it doesn't matter who nudged what behind the scenes. What matters is now. What matters is that I've loved you every day for 8 years. That love wasn't influenced. That love isn't fake. It's real. It's ours. And I will spend my life proving it to you." Sophia felt tears spilling down her cheeks. His words, raw and desperate, cut through the fear and doubt that had built inside her. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the anguish he carried for even a hint of her doubt. He wasn't just apologizing, he was baring his soul, giving her everything he had, demanding nothing but her understanding in return. She finally allowed herself to kneel beside him, hands covering his. "Damien, I do love you. I've never stopped loving you," she whispered, her voice quivering. "It's just hard. The past, it makes me feel fragile. But seeing you like this, I realize I can't let it overshadow what we have." Damien's grip tightened, tears slipping freely now. "Sophia, don't ever leave me wondering. Don't ever doubt us. I can't lose you, not to the past, not to anything." They sat together in silence, the only sounds the quiet ticking of the clock and Leo's soft breathing from his room upstairs. The anguish, the desperation, and the fear had been laid bare, but so had their love. Raw, unfiltered, and undeniable. Sophia leaned her head against his shoulder, her hands entwined with his. "We'll get through this," she whispered. "Together." Damien pressed a kiss to her temple, holding her like he had never wanted to let go. "Together," he echoed, voice thick with relief and lingering emotion. "Always together." For the first time in days, the storm between them felt like it might finally begin to ease. The past had left its marks, but love, real, unshakable love, was proving stronger than any shadow. The house was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of the bedside lamp. Leo slept peacefully in his room, unaware of the storm of emotions that had raged and now softened between his parents. Sophia and Damien sat side by side on the couch, shoulders touching, hands entwined, but the tension of the past week still lingered in the air. I keep thinking about the letters, Sophia admitted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. About Elena, about all of it. I know you've always loved me, Damien, but the thought that someone else had even a small influence, it makes me feel like the foundation of everything we built could be fragile. Damien's thumb stroked the back of her hand gently. I know, sophomore. I get it. I can't erase the past, and I can't change what you've discovered. But I need you to understand this: the love we share, the family we've built, that is ours. No one else, not even Elena, could take that from us. Sophia's eyes welled with tears. It's just, I never imagined our life would have this hidden thread running through it. For 8 years, I've loved you, trusted you, but now it feels like I'm seeing everything through a new lens, one I can't ignore. Damien tilted his head, brushing a tear from her cheek. Sophia, love is messy. Life is messy. Sometimes the truth is tangled up with mistakes, missteps, even hidden hands trying to guide us. But our heart remains ours. And mine has always belonged to you. Every choice, every moment has been yours. She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. I want to believe that, she whispered, but I need to feel it. I need reassurance that what we have is real, that I can trust it fully without fear. Damien drew her closer, wrapping his arms around her in a protective embrace. Then I'll give it to you. Every day. Every moment. I'll show you, sophomore. Through actions, through words, through everything I am, I'll prove to you that my love is unwavering, that our marriage was never compromised. You are my choice. Always. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she lifted her head, searching his eyes. I've missed this closeness, Damien. I've missed feeling completely safe in our love. For a while, I let fear creep in. I let doubt settle where trust should have been. Damien held her face in his hands, gentle yet insistent. Then let it go. All of it. The doubt, the fear, the what-ifs. They don't belong in our future. Only love does. Only us. Sophia's lips quivered as she smiled through her tears. It's not easy. But being here with you, I can feel it again. That certainty, that warmth. I've needed this more than I realized. Damien pressed his forehead to hers. And you'll always have it. I'll never give you a reason to doubt again. Not Elena, not anyone. Just us, Sophia. Our love. Our family. They sat in silence for a long moment, letting the words and emotions settle, letting the shared understanding sink into their bones. The fear, the shadows of past uncertainty, began to dissolve under the warmth of their connection. I love you, Damien, Sophia whispered finally, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I love you, and I want us to move forward together without these shadows lingering anymore. I love you too, Sophia. More than words, more than anything in this world, he replied, voice thick with emotion. And we will. Together. Always. Damien leaned in, pressing a tender kiss to her lips, slow and deliberate, sealing their promises without words. Sophia responded, letting herself feel the safety, the love, and the bond that had survived every hidden twist of the past. As they pulled back, she rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. It was a heartbeat she had known for years, a heartbeat that had never faltered in its devotion. And in that moment, the last remnants of doubt began to fade. The storm had passed, leaving in its wake a calm, steady certainty. Their love, though tested, was real. Their bond, though strained, was unbreakable. Sophia closed her eyes, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She was home not just in this house, but in Damien's love, in their life together, and in the certainty that they could face any challenge as long as they did it together. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the living room. Sophia sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of tea, while Leo built a precarious tower of blocks on the floor. Damien moved about the room, preparing breakfast with an easy rhythm, but Sophia couldn't shake the thoughts lingering in her mind. Despite the heartfelt conversation the night before, doubts still gnawed at her. Elena's influence, the letters, the shadows of the past, it all made her wary, even though Damien had poured his heart out to her. She loved him fiercely, but the foundation of trust had been shaken, and rebuilding it felt like walking on thin ice. Leo looked up from his tower, eyes bright with curiosity. Mom, why do you look so serious? Did something happen? Sophia forced a smile, trying to brush off the weight she felt. Oh, nothing, sweetheart. Just thinking about grown-up things. Leo scrunched his little face, sticking a block on the wobbly tower. Are you thinking about Daddy? She paused, her heart tightening. Yes. I guess I am. Leo nodded sagely, as if he understood more than he let on. I think you don't need to worry. Daddy loves you. I can see it. Even when he looks really worried, or when he talks really fast and gets all red in the face. Sophia blinked, surprised at the depth of his observation. You notice that? Of course I do, Leo said, his small hands gesturing wildly. He talks to me a lot about happy stuff. And about you. And sometimes he says things that make me laugh, but I know he's serious. He really, really loves you. He wouldn't pretend, right? Sophia laughed softly, tears threatening to spill. Her son's innocent clarity cut through the lingering shadows of doubt. She looked over at Damien, who had paused mid-egg flip, pretending not to eavesdrop, but clearly listening. Leo's right, Damien said quietly, moving closer. I love you, Sophia. Always have. And I will keep showing you every single day. Nothing, no letters, no past misunderstandings can change that. Not even a little. Sophia felt a wave of relief wash over her. Seeing Damien through Leo's innocent eyes gave her perspective she hadn't considered before. The love she feared might be influenced was now reflected back at her, pure and unquestionable, through the unfiltered heart of her child. You know, Sophia said, her voice soft and playful, sometimes it helps to see things from a child's point of view. Leo has a way of noticing what grown-ups forget. Leo grinned, proud of himself. I'm a very smart kid. I notice important stuff. Like who loves who the most. Damien knelt to hug Leo, ruffling his hair. And he's right. Your mom and I, we love each other more than anything. And we'll keep loving each other no matter what. Sophia joined them, wrapping her arms around both Damien and Leo. In that embrace, the last threads of doubt began to unravel. The love that had seemed fragile under the weight of the past felt solid, grounded, and undeniable. For the first time in days, Sophia felt a lightness in her chest, a warmth that filled the spaces once occupied by fear. Love wasn't perfect, it never was, but it was real, and it was theirs. Leo leaned back, his small face thoughtful. See, Mom? Daddy really does love you. And I love you too. Sophia laughed, brushing a stray strand of hair from his forehead. I love you too, Leo. And yes, Daddy really does love me. I see it now. Damien kissed Sophia's temple, holding her close. We'll get through this together, sophomore. Our family is stronger than any doubt, any past secret. And we have each other always. Sophia rested her head against Damien's chest, listening to his heartbeat and the soft laughter of Leo. The house was filled with warmth, trust, and the unmistakable glow of a love reaffirmed. The innocence of a child had brought clarity where grown-up fears had clouded judgment. Sophia realized that sometimes, seeing the truth doesn't require letters, confrontations, or confessions. It only requires an honest heart and the pure perspective of someone who loved without hesitation. And in that moment, Sophia knew Damien's love had never wavered. It was true, unwavering, and hers to trust fully. The morning air was crisp and fresh, the sunlight spilling through the windows in soft golden beams. Sophia stood at the kitchen counter, chopping vegetables for lunch, while Damien leaned against the doorway, watching her with a mixture of admiration and relief. You're smiling, he said quietly, a teasing note in his voice. And it's not the polite, I'm pretending I'm okay kind of smile. It's real. Sophia glanced up, a small, genuine smile tugging at her lips. I think I'm finally starting to feel like myself again, she admitted. After everything, the letters, the revelations, the doubts. I feel lighter today. Damien's eyes softened. Good. That's all I've wanted, just to see you happy, to see us whole again. Leo, hearing their voices, bounded into the kitchen, carrying a small notebook. Mom, Dad, look what I drew. Sophia laughed, wiping her hands on a towel. What is it, Leo? He held up the notebook proudly. It was a colorful drawing of their family, Sophia, Damien, and Leo himself, all holding hands beneath a bright sun. At the bottom, in Leo's careful handwriting, he had written, "Love is always strong." Damien chuckled, ruffling Leo's hair. I think someone's got it right. Sophia felt her heart swell. The innocence and clarity of her son, coupled with Damien's unwavering presence, filled her with a warmth she hadn't realized she'd missed. Small moments like this, little gestures and shared laughter, were slowly knitting the threads of trust back together. That afternoon, they went for a walk in the nearby park. Damien held Sophia's hand as Leo ran ahead, chasing a stray butterfly. The world felt ordinary and yet extraordinary, each step, each glance, reinforcing the simple, profound reality of their love. Sophia, Damien said softly as they watched Leo's playful antics, I know rebuilding trust isn't instant. It's not something you can rush or force. But I promise, every day, I'll do what it takes. Even the smallest gestures matter. Even a smile, a touch, a moment spent together, it all counts. Sophia nodded, squeezing his hand. I know. And I want to rebuild it. Step by step. I want to feel fully safe in our love again. Damien leaned closer, resting his forehead against hers. Then we will. I'll meet you step by step, heart to heart. And soon, those steps will feel natural again, like they always should. Over the next several days, Sophia and Damien immersed themselves in small, meaningful routines. They cooked meals together, shared quiet evenings reading and talking, and laughed over playful games with Leo. Each moment was a subtle reaffirmation of love, a gentle patching of the emotional rift that had formed. One evening, while Leo was asleep, Sophia and Damien sat on the porch swing, the night air filled with the scent of blooming jasmine. Sophia leaned her head on Damien's shoulder, listening to the soft creak of the swing and the distant chirping of crickets. You know, she murmured, I think the hardest part was realizing that I had let doubt overshadow trust. Seeing Elena, seeing the letters, it shook me. But now I see that love doesn't disappear because of complications. It strengthens. Damien kissed the top of her head, holding her tightly. Exactly. We've been tested, but that only proves the strength of what we have. Our love isn't fragile, Sophia. It's resilient. It can survive anything, even the shadows of the past. Sophia closed her eyes, letting herself absorb the comfort, the reassurance, and the quiet power of their bond. She realized that trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt in a single conversation or gesture. It required patience, consistency, and love. And in Damien's presence, she felt it returning, day by day, heartbeat by heartbeat. By the end of the week, the household was alive with laughter again. Leo chattered incessantly, sharing stories from school and asking endless questions, while Sophia and Damien shared quiet moments of intimacy and understanding. The tension that had once hovered like a storm cloud over their family had dissipated, replaced with warmth, trust, and the gentle rhythm of daily life. For Sophia, the most profound revelation was simple: love, when genuine, could endure misunderstandings, doubts, and even the invisible hands of the past. Trust, once shaken, could be restored through shared moments, patience, and unwavering commitment. And as she watched Damien smile at her across the kitchen, hands dusted with flour from baking bread together, Sophia realized that their family, imperfect, tested, and resilient, was stronger than it had ever been. The journey wasn't over, but the path was clear. Together, they would continue to rebuild, step by step, until trust became as effortless as love itself. The late afternoon sun painted the garden in shades of gold and amber as Elena arrived at Sophia and Damien's home. She carried herself with her usual calm elegance, but there was a subtle tension in her shoulders, an acknowledgement of the emotions this visit would inevitably stir. Sophia met her at the door, a mixture of apprehension and curiosity in her expression. Elena, she greeted softly. Elena, Damien said from behind her, his tone polite but warm, the protective edge in his voice softened by time and understanding. Elena gave a small smile, one that carried years of regret, guidance, and unspoken care. Thank you for letting me visit, she said. I wanted to see you both one last time, to offer what I should have long ago, a proper farewell. Sophia nodded, gesturing toward the garden. Of course. Please come in. They sat in the garden, the late sunlight wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Leo played nearby, unaware of the quiet significance of the moment. Elena watched him with a tender gaze, the corners of her mouth lifting into a faint smile. You've built something beautiful here, Elena said, glancing at Sophia and Damien. I'm glad to see it. And I want to apologize for any confusion I may have caused in the past, for any moments that made you question what was real or true. Sophia felt a lump rise in her throat. You didn't. You were honest with me, Elena. I understand now. And I appreciate everything you've done. For Damien, for us, for our family. Elena's eyes softened, a hint of relief shining through. I never interfered to claim anything. I guided, yes, but only with the hope that Damien would find the happiness he deserved. And that happiness, it's with you, Sophia. It always was. Damien reached for Sophia's hand, intertwining their fingers. She's right, he said. Elena never wanted to take away from us. She only wanted what was best for me, for us. And I can see now how much care there was in that. Elena nodded, her gaze shifting to Leo. And this little one, he's the living proof that love persists, that hearts remain true. You have a beautiful family, and I leave knowing that you're cherished and protected. Sophia felt warmth spread through her chest. Seeing Elena at peace, seeing her acceptance of the love and life Sophia and Damien had built, allowed the last remnants of doubt to dissolve. Elena stood, graceful and composed. I won't overstay my welcome. I just wanted to leave with this, my blessing, and my apology if my past presence ever cast a shadow over your happiness. Sophia rose with her, touching her hand lightly. Thank you, Elena, for everything. Elena smiled, a mix of nostalgia and serenity in her expression. Go on then. Live your lives fully. Love deeply. And remember that the past doesn't define your present, it only strengthens it if you let it. With that, Elena turned and walked away, her figure bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Sophia and Damien watched her go, a quiet sense of closure settling over them like a soft blanket. Leo ran up to them, tugging at their hands. Mom, Dad, let's play. Damien laughed, pulling Sophia close. Yes, let's. It's time to focus on us. On our family. On love. Sophia rested her head against Damien's shoulder, smiling at Leo's exuberance. The past had been complicated, filled with unseen influences and hidden truths, but it no longer threatened their happiness. Elena's farewell had cleared the last shadow, leaving space only for trust, love, and the life they had created together. In the fading light of the evening, Sophia realized that the heart's journey was never linear. There were obstacles, misunderstandings, and lingering doubts, but with honesty, patience, and courage, love could endure and flourish. She took Damien's hand, their fingers interlaced, and together they watched the sun dip below the horizon. For the first time in weeks, Sophia felt fully unburdened. The past had been acknowledged, lessons had been learned, and the future bright, shared, and unshakable awaited them. The morning sun spilled gently across the bedroom, casting soft patterns on the floor as Sophia stirred awake. For the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't wake with that heavy weight pressing on her chest. The shadows of doubt that had lingered since discovering Elena's letter were beginning to dissolve. She sat up slowly, glancing over at Damien, who was still asleep, his chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Watching him, Sophia felt a deep, familiar warmth. The man beside her, the man she had loved for 8 years, had never faltered. He had never betrayed her. And now, she was ready to finally let go of the insecurities that had haunted her heart. Sophia rose quietly, moving to the study. She pulled the folder of letters from Elena and Damien aside, placing it on the desk. They had served their purpose: clarity, proof, perspective. She no longer needed to revisit them for reassurance. The time had come to leave the past behind, not as a burden but as a lesson. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, speaking softly to herself, I forgive you, Damien. I forgive myself. The past was never meant to break us. It was meant to show us how strong we truly are, together. Later that morning, she found Damien in the kitchen, attempting to make pancakes but clearly distracted. He looked up when she entered, a faint frown creasing his forehead. Morning, he said, his voice tinged with worry. You've been quiet today, are you okay? Sophia approached him, placing her hand gently on his arm. I am now, she said, a soft smile spreading across her face. I've been thinking about everything. About the doubts, the letters, Elena, and I realize that none of it changes what we have. None of it diminishes your love or mine. I forgive the past. I forgive myself for letting fear creep in. And I forgive you, that there's nothing to forgive, really. You've always been true to me. Damien's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Soph, hearing that, it means everything. I've never stopped loving you, and now, hearing you say this, it feels like the weight has lifted off both our shoulders. Sophia smiled, her fingers brushing against his. It has. The shadows are gone, Damien. There's nothing left to doubt. I trust us completely now. Leo, who had been watching the exchange with wide eyes, clapped his hands. Yay! You two are happy again. Damien scooped him up, spinning him around in a joyful embrace. Yes, we are, Leo. Thanks to your mom, the shadows are gone. Sophia laughed softly, the sound light and free. You know, she said, watching her husband and son, it took a lot to get here. But I think that's the thing about love, it's not just about happiness. It's about fighting for each other, forgiving, trusting, and holding on, even when things are hard. Damien pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. Exactly. And now, with the past behind us, there's nothing we can't face together. The future is ours to shape, without fear, without shadows. Sophia closed her eyes, letting the comfort of their embrace wash over her. She could feel the last remnants of doubt dissolve completely. Damien's love was real, unwavering, and fully hers. And in that moment, she understood something profound. Love wasn't about perfection, it was about persistence. About being willing to stand together through storms and doubts, and to emerge stronger on the other side. Later that evening, the family sat together in the living room, laughing over a board game with Leo. Damien and Sophia exchanged glances, each silently acknowledging the journey they had been through, the misunderstandings, the fears, the emotional turbulence, and how it had ultimately strengthened their bond. Sophia felt a profound peace settle over her. The shadows of doubt had faded, leaving space for trust, joy, and the kind of love that endured trials and grew stronger because of them. She leaned against Damien, feeling the warmth of his presence, and whispered softly, "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" Damien kissed her temple gently. "We're more than okay. We're stronger than ever." And in that quiet, tender moment, Sophia realized that the past, the secrets, and even the fears had served their purpose. They had led her to a place of unwavering certainty and unshakable trust. The shadows were gone, and love, pure and resilient, filled the space where doubt once lingered. The weekend arrived like a gentle breeze, carrying with it the promise of rest, laughter, and family moments that had been interrupted by past anxieties. Sophia awoke to sunlight spilling through the curtains, the soft sound of birdsong filling the room. She stretched, feeling a rare sense of lightness in her chest, the kind of ease that comes from knowing that love, trust, and understanding have been restored. In the kitchen, Damien hummed softly, flipping pancakes and occasionally glancing toward the living room, where Leo had already begun a quiet battle with his collection of toy soldiers. The aroma of breakfast sweet syrup, buttery pancakes, and fresh coffee permeated the air, grounding Sophia in the simple pleasures of home. "Good morning," Damien said, smiling as she entered. "Sleep well." "Like a log," Sophia replied, her smile genuine and unforced. "And you?" "Better than I have in weeks," he admitted, offering her a plate of pancakes, carefully stacked and drizzled with syrup. Sophia accepted it, the simple gesture carrying more warmth than words ever could. They ate together, occasionally exchanging glances that said more than conversation could. There was no tension, no fear lingering beneath the surface, only a quiet, reaffirmed love that had endured trials and emerged stronger. After breakfast, Damien suggested a walk in the nearby orchard. Leo ran ahead, his laughter echoing through the rows of apple trees. Sophia and Damien strolled hand in hand, the sunlight glinting off the dew-covered grass and casting soft shadows across their path. "I've missed this," Sophia said softly, glancing at Damien. "Just being together without any weight on our shoulders. Just us." Damien squeezed her hand gently. "Me too. And it feels right. Like we've finally exhaled after holding our breath for so long." Leo ran back toward them, waving a small stick as if it were a sword. "Mom, Dad, let's have a race." Before Sophia could respond, Damien scooped her up in a playful grin. "You're coming with me," he said, bolting forward with surprising speed. Sophia laughed, breathless and exhilarated, her heart soaring with joy she hadn't fully felt in weeks. Leo chased them, giggling, and soon the three of them collapsed onto the grass in fits of laughter, the orchard echoing with the sound of pure happiness. Later, as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, they sat together on a blanket, sharing stories and talking about small dreams and plans for the future. There was a freedom in their conversation now, a sense that the weight of past doubts no longer constrained them. Damien looked at Sophia, his eyes tender. "I want us to remember this feeling," he said softly. "The laughter, the ease, the joy. Even when life throws obstacles our way, we can come back to this: our love, our family, our bond. This is what matters." Sophia nodded, her heart full. "I will. I promise. And I'll make sure we always find time for moments like this, no matter what." Leo leaned against Damien, his head resting on his father's shoulder, and Sophia rested hers against Damien's. In that quiet, golden hour, the family felt complete, whole, cherished, and deeply connected. Sophia realized that the journey they had undertaken from doubt and fear to understanding and trust had not only strengthened their marriage, but had also deepened their appreciation for life's simplest joys, laughter, shared moments, and the knowledge that they were inseparable. As dusk settled and the first stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Sophia felt a profound peace. The storms of the past had passed, leaving only the calm, steady heartbeat of love and family. And in that rhythm, she found reassurance that no challenge, secret, or shadow could ever undo what they had built together. Damien, noticing her serene smile, whispered, "We're truly okay now, aren't we?" Sophia met his gaze, her eyes bright and steady. "Yes, Damien. We're more than okay. We're stronger, happier, and ready for anything." With that, Damien leaned in, kissing her softly, and Sophia felt the joy of the present, the laughter, the love, the restored bond settle warmly in her chest. For the first time in weeks, she was free of worry. Their family had been tested, and they had emerged unshaken. Together, they watched the stars appear, feeling the quiet certainty that love, when nurtured, could withstand anything. The morning light spilled gently over the garden, painting everything in soft gold. Sophia stood at the porch, watching Leo chase a butterfly across the lawn, his laughter echoing like music. Damien stood beside her, coffee in hand, and she leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his presence seep into her bones. It had been weeks since Elena's farewell, weeks since the shadows of doubt had begun to fade. Every day since had been a step toward rebuilding, toward reconnecting, toward rediscovering the love that had always been theirs. And now, as Sophia watched her family moving through the garden with ease and joy, she felt a profound sense of peace. "You know," Damien said, voice low and reflective, "I still remember the first day we met. The way everything felt possible. Even then, I knew we had something special. Something worth fighting for." Sophia smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from his forehead. "I remember too. And now, after everything, the doubts, the letters, the fears, I understand something important. Love isn't perfect. It's messy, complicated, sometimes scary. But the beauty of it is that it survives. It grows. It endures." Damien's eyes softened, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Exactly. And ours has endured everything. The past, misunderstandings, even the shadows that tried to creep in. And look at us now. Stronger, closer, more in love than ever." Sophia nodded, feeling the full weight of his words settle in her heart. She thought of the long journey, the pain, the tears, the revelations, but also the laughter, the tenderness, and the unwavering love that had carried them through. The journey had not been easy, but it had been theirs. Leo ran up to them, holding a small wildflower he had picked. "Mom, Dad, look. It's for you." Damien bent down, taking the tiny bouquet and inhaling its delicate fragrance. "Thank you, Leo. It's beautiful, just like you." Sophia took the flowers, pressing a gentle kiss to her son's cheek. "It's perfect," she said, smiling. "Thank you, my little sunshine." The simplicity of the moment, the laughter, the flowers, the love felt monumental. It reminded Sophia that life's beauty often lay in these ordinary, fleeting moments, and that they were the true markers of happiness. Damien reached for Sophia's hand, kneeling slightly in the soft grass, as he did years ago in a playful echo of past gestures. "Sophia, my love, my heart. I've weathered storms, I've made mistakes, but through it all, you've been my constant. Will you continue this journey with me, every step of the way?" Sophia's eyes shimmered with tears, joy, and certainty. She reached out, placing her hand over his. "Always, Damien. Through everything, I'll choose us. Every day, every moment." He smiled, relief and love flooding his expression. "Then let's continue together. Always together." They embraced, a quiet promise flowing between them, unspoken yet deeply felt. Leo joined in, wrapping his small arms around both his parents, the three of them a perfect, unshakable circle of love. Sophia looked up at the sky, at the clouds drifting lazily above and the sun shining warmly upon them. She reflected on the journey that had brought them here, the secrets revealed, the doubts confronted, the forgiveness given, and the love that had endured it all. It had not been an easy path, but it had been theirs. And now, the past no longer held power over them. Their hearts were open, their trust rebuilt, and their bond stronger than ever. Damien kissed her forehead, and Sophia felt a wave of contentment and certainty wash over her. The story of their love was imperfect, complicated, and beautiful. And it was theirs. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the lawn, Sophia realized that love, true and resilient, always comes full circle. It bends, it weathers storms, it faces trials, but it survives. And when it does, it shines brighter than ever. Hand in hand, Damien and Sophia watched Leo run ahead, laughter trailing behind him. Their hearts were full, their family whole, and their future a tapestry of love, trust, and joy stretched endlessly ahead. And for the first time in a long while, Sophia felt completely at peace, knowing that no secret, no past shadow, could ever undo the love that had carried them through. Together, they faced the future unafraid, unwavering, and entirely in love. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more tales from Sparrow's Realm. Until next time, keep listening, and let your imagination soar.